Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gotham Sports Machine. I'm your host, Jack Healy, joined by my co-host, Mark Healy. Today, we're going to talk some fantasy football quarterbacks. How are you feeling today, Mark?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. When we were doing the prep for the show today, I went to a bunch of different places to look for rankings and things like that. And, look, ESPN does a great job with fantasy football, and there's other places out there, obviously, that do a great job. But I picked, or at least I picked ESPN's rankings because they looked so just different from past years. So you've gotten a chance to look at their top 10. What did you think about ESPN's rankings? And it was the staff rankings came out about 4 or 5 days ago. What did you think of that list of the top 10?
What I think every year that I've ever looked at ESPN rankings, and who gave these people jobs? It's like every year you like look at three or four guys, and it's like, why? Why are they there? And it doesn't matter what the sport is, baseball, basketball, football, every year their rankings all over the place. So I never like obviously it's good to look at them just to get like a
Right.
basis, but
So let me just run through it for the listeners. Okay, so according to ESPN, this is their top 10. Josh Allen, number one. Lamar Jackson, number two. I don't have a problem. Maybe you want to put Lamar Jackson number one, number two, whatever. Jaden Daniels at number three. Drake May at number four. Jalen Hurts at number five. Joe Burrow at number six. Jackson Dart at seven. Brock Purdy at eight. Trevor Lawrence at nine. And Dak Prescott at 10. Okay, so let's just go with who doesn't belong in that top 10, in your
I
opinion?
mean, clearly Dart. I like him. He's got talent. He showed he can run, but I'm really gonna have that much confidence in this beat up. I mean, I guess they're healthier, but like we have no clue what this Giants offense is gonna look like. They
Right.
should look better, but top 10, almost a top five fantasy quarterback season from Dart. That's tough for me to swallow. And Neighbors is banged up. They don't really like they have a bunch of veterans, but I'm not. I don't love that receiving core. They got some good tight ends. They brought in Likely. Running backs, same thing. They got Scadaboo coming off an injury. I don't know how that run game's gonna look. And their offensive line's always been a horror show. It
No,
looked
look,
better on paper, but
that was the name that stood out to me like right away. I was like Jackson Dart. I mean, I get it. These, look, one of the things is, look, we just based on my personal experience, which you have criticized me for many years playing fantasy, I always overvalue quarterbacks. And I sometimes I'll take a high pick on a quarterback that I just think is going to have a great year based on his weapons, based on his offensive line, based on the offensive coordinator or the scheme or whatever. I made that mistake with Justin Herbert, a few years ago. Um, you know, but to me, like, I don't understand it. Like you just pointed out, like three really good reasons why he should not be in the top 10. He was banged up his rookie season. You got a new coach with a new system. You don't know what that system's going to look like. I mean, obviously, is it because the system is going to look something like what the Ravens had? So you're ranking them higher. It doesn't make any sense to me. The offensive line, even if you're being generous, is a work in progress. The receiving core, work in progress. There's nothing there. I mean, outside of his own ability, which is good, but it's not top 10. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
especially over guys like Purdy and Lawrence, who went on tears at in the second half of last year. Purdy just got Mike Evans added to his offense,
Right.
and they're going to be healthier. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he looked great in the second half of last year, and now he's going to be in the second year of that Liam Cohen offense. Like, I wouldn't see myself taking Jackson Dart over either of them. But I mean, it's personal preference. Obviously, Giant fans are gonna be homers and take him.
Great. Go ahead. Go
Yeah, have
ahead.
fun with that.
It doesn't make
And
any.
I does he could still have a good season, but and he might even finish top 10, but I just don't I doubt it. And even like a guy like Matt Stafford, the guy I'm wearing over here, or Jared Goff, like they're ranked much lower. Matt Stafford just won MVP. Jared Goff has been consistent 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns since he's gotten to Detroit. Like, can those guys run? No. But as far as consistent week to week production, that I know that they're going to go out there, like Goff he has some games where he kind of throws his picks and kind of disappears when the pressure gets to him. But Stafford, you're telling me Jackson Dart is 8 quarterbacks over
It
Stafford,
doesn't.
the
It
MVP
doesn't make
quarterback?
any. I mean, look. You and I have had our conversations about Dak Prescott, right? We've
Even him.
ah, who would you rather have right now? Remember Tiki Barber a couple of years ago? He said, "There's no way I'd rather have Dak Prescott over Daniel Jones." You remember that? I mean, like, and then of course, Daniel Jones goes out and has one of the worst years of his career. But Dak Prescott, whatever you want to say about Dak Prescott, okay, when it comes to fantasy, when he's healthy, he's as reliable as anybody. And to rank Jackson Dart ahead of Dak Prescott makes no sense to me at all. I mean, especially when you think about Dak Prescott's surrounding cast, that offensive line is going to be better. He's going to be, he's got maybe the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. And look, they're going to be better. I can't stand the Cowboys, but they're going to be better this year. And they're going to be better because Dak Prescott is one of those guys that, statistically, whether he wins the big game, whether he wins the playoff game, whatever, that has nothing to do with this, right? So it's a very odd top 10 ranking in my and the other name that's disappeared, and I want to talk about this a little bit, is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, is Patrick Mahomes dropped so far that he's not even a top 10 fantasy quarterback?
That's crazy to me too, but I kind of understand. I mean, he's coming off the ACL. You don't know. I mean, it's just like risky when a guy's coming off injury like that, but you got to bank on the fact that they added a top 10 running back in Kenny Walker. They have arguably the best coach in the league, especially offensively, in Andy Reid. And Rashi Rice will be back. He's healthy. Hopefully, he doesn't get arrested in the next month. Kelsey's back. He'll
Right.
be, I mean, is he the Travis Kelsey of 5, 6 years ago? No. But
No.
he's still a top 10 tight end. There's still not many guys that can consistently give you 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like, it's just mind-boggling to me how quickly everybody is to it's just because they hate the Chiefs, they hate Kelsey, they hate Mahomes. They just immediately just dismiss him and put guys like Jackson Dart over him. Like Dart is he's got talent. He's got like in a dynasty league, maybe that's where you like that starts to make a little more sense. But I don't know, not for me. Especially when you would think that ESPN would be all over a guy like Caleb Williams rather than a guy like Jackson Dart. Like I'd be more on board with that. But even then, Caleb Williams, like he showed us more than Dart, and he even had games where he like couldn't complete a pass. So
I think they
I
have. I think I'm trying to think of where they had Caleb Williams. I mean, he was not in it. I don't believe he was in the top 20.
I know top 20 would be crazy because I know Fantasy Pros has him like 7, 8.
Right. No, I thought there was a bunch of different ones out there, and I found a bunch of different things that were interesting. NFL.com had some interesting stuff with, value picks, right? Because if you're in a dynasty league like Jack and I are, you know, the quarterbacks, the top 15, 20 quarterbacks, because we have two quarterbacks. We play two quarterbacks a week in our league. So, those value picks become really important when you're trying to figure out, guys that, either can be available in a trade, or guys that uh, you know, are available, and the interesting, I was Okuda had a very interesting article about those types of value picks. Where is it now? Matt Okuda. He had Kyler Murray as his number one value pick. What do you think about that?
I I don't mind it because when you're thinking value, it's not just the best player, it's the best player in the best spot. And especially with quarterback, I always find it's more valuable to wait and try to get a guy later. Like the best pick you'll find are the sixth, seventh round gems that go on and have MVP type seasons. Kyler, I like it. I mean, he's going to be in the O'Connell system. We've seen him work wonders with quarterbacks. Justin Jefferson's a monster. Like, I could see him having a solid season. JJ McCarthy's probably not going to take that job from him. He just didn't look good last year.
Right.
And the pick never made sense to begin with in general. You let Cousins go and you let Darnold go for a kid who really proved nothing. Everybody's so obsessed with drafting their quarterback first round, and like sometimes like the 30-year-old quarterback isn't the worst thing in the world. Like these teams are so scared and they want their 22, 23-year-old quarterbacks. They want the young gun, they want the franchise quarterback. And how many times have we seen these guys just fizzle out and then get replaced in a year or two by a guy like a Kyler Murray or a Sam Darnold or a guy who was drafted early? And it's like most of these guys end up panning out 4 or 5 years in the future now because they aren't ready and they weren't ready in those first few years. And Kyler, he kind of did look ready. His first few years, he looked really good before he tore his ACL.
Right.
And then he tore his ACL. Cardinals got real bad real quick. When he came back, I mean, he did nothing. He's trying to do everything with him and Marvin Harrison, and Marvin Harrison wasn't really too good either. So you put him in a much better system, a much better overall just spot for him. I could see him having a fringe like top 15, top 10 year. Like you could sell me more on Kyler Murray. That like I think Kyler and Jackson Dart are like right there.
And Kyler Murray has had a lot of success. I mean, yeah, he's coming off injuries and a new situation. You could the pros and the cons of a Kyler Murray and a Jackson Dart. It's all like a point of view type thing because you can weigh it, you can look at the numbers, you can do all that stuff. But I think you make a great point. You can make a solid argument for Kyler Murray having a better statistical year than Jackson Dart. Look, they're both guys that could be, could be injury prone. I don't know enough about the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, but they have to be as good, if not better, than the Giants offensive line. And let's be honest, the offensive line dictates a lot. I mean, it doesn't come into play statistically for your fantasy team. But if you're not aware of the way that an offensive line plays, as far as controlling the line of scrimmage, you're really asking, like to me, it's mind-boggling to me. Even if you're the biggest Giant fan in the world, and look, we don't dislike Jackson Dart. We both said it. We both like him. He's got upside, but again, it's like in fantasy, It would be crazy. That would be like me and Jack sitting here as Atlanta Falcons fans and telling you that Tua or Penix are better than Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't make any sense. Now,
Yeah.
do I think that Penix and Tua are both guys that could have success in the NFL, regardless of who's the starter.
Well, Tua's
Based
had
on
success. Tua's
based well, I'm saying based on what we've seen, just the two of them, us being Falcons fans, like whoever's the starter, we're going to support, we're going to like, right? Um, and in that system with those offensive, weapons, you know, if you're upright, if the offensive line doesn't get the rash of injuries that it got last year, those either of those two guys could put up decent numbers. But we're not going to sit here and tell you to draft either of them. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a value pick in like the 11th round and you need a quarterback. And you have Penix, right? You have Penix on your bench.
Yep. I got him
Didn't
with
I
the
try to
flex.
get him last year for CJ Stroud and you turned it down? You're a bad guy. Would trade, Penix to your old man. Bad job out of you.
Honestly, bad job out of you. I should have taken that trade. If Tua's the starter, I mean, I got a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I'll still probably trade for him. I'll
We'll
throw
see.
not CJ Stroud though. I need him to be good. But let's talk about CJ Stroud for a second because a lot of people, have ranked him a little bit higher this year. He's definitely not a top 15. I don't even think he's top 20 in a lot of these rankings. Where do you see the kind of what do you see from CJ Stroud this year? Do you think he's going to be better than he's been? Is he a solid pick for a team that has two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, you could even like if you get him late in your draft, that's a good value pick. He has the potential, like everybody, the discourse on him is insane. After his first year, people were swearing he's a top five, top three quarterback. Then they lose some offensive line, and he gets absolutely mauled for 2 years.
He did.
I mean, last year wasn't as bad, and he looked a little bit better, but still wasn't great. I think they'll have a better run game next year. The offensive line hopefully plays a little bit better. Nico Collins should be healthy. Tank Dell might even be back, who was a huge piece from his rookie year. So who knows? You got the best defense in the league last year. That's usually good for fantasy quarterbacks. If you're on the field for most of the game because your defense is shutting it down,
Right.
you got more opportunities for points. And Stroud hasn't really shown great running ability in the past 2 years, but I think that'll change with better offensive line play because I mean his senior year of college, he was beating teams with his legs.
Yeah.
I watched him beat Notre Dame and he threw the ball like 20 times. Like he was just running all over them. He's a great running quarterback.
Yep.
So
I,
I
it's just, like we talk a lot about these, I've had people say, oh, why do you talk about all these random quarterbacks sometimes? I'm like, look, because a lot of teams, a lot of fantasy leagues, especially the dynasty leagues, you have to kind of pick, from the bottom of the rung. You gotta identify those guys that you think could be better than what you currently have. Another name I'll throw out at you. This is a guy that I've always liked, but he's never really put it together, and that's Malik Willis. He's going to be the starter in Miami. They're starting over from scratch. Is that a guy that if he stays healthy, could he have a productive season in Miami?
they're gonna be terrible. He's throwing to nobody.
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
he could maybe put up decent stats in certain games. Like he might be like you see him playing the Jets, it might be a start. Like, I don't know. I'd stay away from that. Just they have nobody. They literally have nobody. Their best receiver is their running back. So I like Willis. I mean, he looked good last year in Green Bay. Maybe if they get some talent around him in Miami, they have something there. Like he's got talent, but they might win 2 games this year.
But before we get to the rookies, because again, that's for dynasty leagues, the rookie quarterbacks, are going to be, you might only pick one, but again, wasn't a quarterback rich draft, but we're talking about some of these value picks. What about Cam Ward? What do you think about him?
I mean, I definitely like he's definitely interesting. He's a dual threat. Looked really good at times last year, but the team wasn't good at all. They added some talent. They added a top receiver, Carnell Tate. That's going to help him out. Added a running back too, Singleton. I like what they got going on there. Salah's got, I mean, they're going to be better. I don't know if I'm banking on them to have this breakout insane season,
Right.
but I think he'll be better. I think he could be a threat for like 25, 30 passing touchdowns and like 5 rushing touchdowns, that's fantasy value. You find good spots to start him, and he could definitely be a QB2 on a team if you have a really good QB1 that you rely on to basically start every week. But I like Cam Ward. I do like Cam Ward. I think the truest value pick for me, I mean, I kind of said it before, is Jared Goff. I mean, I ruined my draft last year. My entire thought process going into the draft was do not draft a quarterback high. Do not draft a quarterback high. And then I drafted Joe Burrow in like the 4th round.
Oh, that was rough.
Disgusting. And then I got Jared Goff in like the 15th or 16th round or whatever. And he was just as good for like
Yeah,
most of the season.
he was.
And it was just like I knew to do it, but sometimes you just see these names in front of you, and it was like Allen and Lamar just went, and I think Hurts just went too. So it's like, oh, Burrow is like that last top tier quarterback, and you start thinking like, I need to take him, I need to take him, and that could ruin your whole draft. If you have, you got to stick to your guns. Drafting a quarterback, especially when they don't have any rushing upside, it really is not worth it in the top 4 rounds. Unless you are so sure that they're gonna win MVP that you can't even you
And
don't
even
even
then,
like
but even then,
even then.
it's bad because I did that with Herbert. I thought that he was like going to have this breakout season, and it did not go well. And I like him. I mean, he's a guy that if he was available and I could get him, I'd probably try to get him. I have Jared Goff. I have C.J. Stroud. I have Shug from the Saints, another guy whose rankings have gone up. I mean, based on what he did in the second half last year, and I think the Saints are going to be better. I hate it, but they're going to be better. And he's a big part of that. He looked very competent, if not really good, in his last 6 or 7 games of the season. So that's another guy that has value, that could be hanging around in those later rounds that you might want to grab. Um, so the rookies, where do you stand on? The rookie quarterbacks. Is there anybody there outside? I mean, is there anybody there that's worth taking in your opinion over, let's say, a guy like Shug or some of these other value guys that we talked about?
I mean, there's only one rookie quarterback that you're even thinking about drafting, and that's Mendoza.
Right,
And you're
but
still
but
not taking him over anyone.
but he's not going to start.
Yeah,
So
that's
in
what I'm saying. So
dynasty
you're
league,
not,
that makes sense, right? Kirk Cousins is going to start, I believe.
yeah, so there's no other rookie quarterbacks to even consider.
Right.
I mean, Mendoza is definitely an interesting option for Dynasty, but the only other rookie quarterback I was even taking, and you got like Carson Beck and Ty Simpson, also backups. Like none of these guys are starting.
Right. Well, what about if Geno Smith gets hurt? Do you
In
take
a
a
daily
flyer
fantasy
on? You
league,
take a
in a
flyer
daily,
on him?
no, no, you're not. That's like, why would you do that? You're not even gonna take a flyer on Geno Smith.
Uh, Yeah, but what if you don't have a quarterback? Geno Smith.
Quarterback in what? In
I'm saying
Dynasty?
maybe if you don't have a quarterback, maybe you take a Geno Smith. No.
In what? If you didn't draft a quarterback in
No,
your
I'm saying
draft,
like on the waiver wire, like after your draft, and you're not happy with your
and you
quarterback.
then if you did your draft and you think you need Geno Smith after, you call up the commissioner and give him your money back because you did not do a good job. I mean, I I got MVP Stafford off waivers last year. Sometimes you just got to stay patient.
Well, that's the key, right?
And
That's
sometimes,
that's
because
a
some
big
guys
key,
are impatient. Because
right?
Stafford had like a week or two where he wasn't that good, and then he got a little banged up, and then he had a bye, and then he came off that bye and threw 30 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
So sometimes these also with these pocket passers, when they don't have the rushing upside, you see one or two games of like 4 or 5 points. You're like, oh, no thanks, see ya.
Yeah,
But
patience.
meanwhile, yeah,
Patience
you
is
just gotta
key.
have patience. You gotta look at the schedule. And Jared Goff, really, I mean, all around this year, he's got the best schedule. Maybe didn't have like they don't have this insane like, oh, they have this guy and this guy and this guy coming in. But that's the thing, they have a very similar offense to an offense that was really good with a coach who's really aggressive and a team like they run the ball, but they score so much that Goff is just I mean, between Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs, and Jameson Williams, there's just so much explosion on that offense. And they're
Yep.
fun to watch. And yeah, Goff isn't going to go out there and run for 10 touchdowns, but he's been so consistent in that like 28 to 35 touchdown range these past few years. Is where you're going to get him. I just think the value is just too good there.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I have him, so I'm happy about that. Um, so before we close out today, Jack, I wanted to talk about something. And again, obviously the Mets season is in the tank. They're terrible. They're not going to be good. They're not getting back into the postseason.
We're talking about these guys. I thought this was a football show.
No, I know, but I just want to bring up something because I was on a radio station in Green Bay, Wisconsin yesterday, and we were talking about the Mets and the Brewers. And I knew as soon as I said it, it was going to blow up in my face. But I said that, Freddie Peralta has not really been good on the road. His ERA is, I think, a run and a half higher on the road this year. He's obviously a guy that hasn't gotten out of his own way all season. Obviously a guy that the Mets thought was going to be, if not an ace, at least somebody that was going to be a stopper, right? Hasn't gotten out of his way. And I thought maybe, pitching in front of his old home crowd, that would be a kind of a starting point, for Freddie to, kind of at the very least increase his trade value. And then he goes out and another stinker. So I want to ask you this. Do you think that he's hurt and he's trying to pitch through it? Do you think that he can't handle pitching in New York, or can't handle the pressure of trying to perform in a contract year? Or do you just think that this is a guy that is completely overvalued, and the Mets, even if they can't, even if they're not going to get back a decent return, should just trade him so that they don't feel any need to bring him back next year?
Oh, you just asked me like nine different questions, but
Well, I mean, do you think it's
I
physical, mental, or do you just think that it's just never going to work?
baseball. It's baseball. How many times have you seen a good player play terrible? It happens all the time. You trade a guy one place to another, especially when it's Milwaukee to New York. The guy had no pressure. Even they were a good team, but he still had no pressure. And now he comes over. They traded a little bit for him, and he's all of a sudden he's like the face of this new Mets team. Yeah, I'm sure the pressure got to him a little bit, and it's hard once you, as a professional pitcher who's supposed to be of the best, you're supposed to be elite, the best at what you do. The second you start getting shelled, you lose confidence, and it's hard to get that confidence back when you keep getting shelled and your team is terrible. So I don't understand how anyone expects him to just like some guys can do it. Some guys just buck up, lock in,
Figure it out.
but it's
I,
very hard to do on a terrible team. It's very
no,
hard to do.
you're right. You're right. Like I said, I just wanted to address it, even though,
I don't think he's hurt. It's not, this isn't a quarterback situation. This isn't Kirk Cousins has a rookie quarterback behind him and like there's no if he's hurt, he just wouldn't pitch. He's still making money. Why
yeah,
would
you're right.
he
You're right.
why would he forcefully play bad? They're not gonna, oh, you're hurt for 2 weeks now your spot in the rotation's gone. It's not gonna be like that.
No, I agree. I just, like I said, a lot of people have been, I've been talking to a lot of people, and, everybody has their like theories. And, to me, I just think that, you know, the expectation, I don't think the expectation level for Freddie Peralta was 20 wins. I don't think that was the expectation level. I don't think it was, a 2.2 ERA. I think that 15, 16, 17 game winner with a 350 ERA would have been acceptable. And he's not even close to that. His ERA is over 5. He can't get out of the 4th inning. He hasn't won in over a month. I just, it's just like it's a microcosm, as I said yesterday. It's a microcosm of the Mets season and how bad it's been.
Uh,
So we can't wait
like
for football.
why do we have to get into this?
Well, I'm
We were having a nice football talk and now we gotta ruin it with Mets
all
misery.
right. So let's do this. Let's close out the show on a positive note. Um, what pick do you have in the draft? You have the last pick because you won
Yeah.
our draft.
And
Okay, so who's got the first pick?
it's gonna be James, the
All right,
new.
so James. James has the first pick. And where do I pick? Number 2 or number 3?
You got the second pick.
I got the second pick. Okay. So if Jack Healy was drafting for me at number 2 and James decides to go Mendoza.
Well, the first two picks are, it's not even a question. You're either going Mendoza or Love. Whoever he takes, you're taking the other one.
I know, but that'd be hard because I feel like I'm putting a mush on our Notre Dame guy.
What
I'd
do
be
you mean?
nervous. So you would pull the
You'd
trigger
be
if he takes
nervous taking
Mendoza.
the.
If he takes
You just
Mendoza,
watched Jeremiah Love have one of the best seasons in college football history, and you're gonna be shaky on taking him.
well,
If
because
he's there, you take him and you run out
why?
of the
But
house.
why? Why would I hesitate on taking him? Why? Tell me why.
Shouldn't. You shouldn't.
I know I shouldn't, but why would I in my crazy brain? I would think I'm mushing
Because
it.
you're a doofus? I don't know. You do not think about that pick.
I
You
know, but I
draft
feel like I
Joe
would
Love.
jinx him. I feel like I would jinx him.
That's not real. That's not real. Great players are gonna be great. I mean, they can get hurt.
I
That's
know.
just how things go. He's not gonna, if he is healthy, he's going to be great. There is no if, ands, or buts about that. He's
Okay.
got insane pass catching ability. He's a 4.2 speed guy who can break. He broke like 4 tackles on one run. to score that 2-yard touchdown against Penn State. This guy is
But I thought
this is
I thought his backup was better.
well, they were both first round picks.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
Jadarian Price over in
crazy.
Seattle. He's
That's
also going to be, he's a nice value pick in
yeah,
overall fantasy and in dynasty if you can get
yeah,
him
yeah.
middle of that first round or end of the first
Yeah.
round.
He's the fact that the two of them were both first round picks is just amazing. Just amazing. But they didn't, they didn't make the playoffs though.
Which is ridiculous, but
Horrendous. Horrendous. Well, look, I can't wait. I can't wait for football to start, buddy. I can't wait for the Notre Dame to start. I can't wait for the NFL to start. I mean, I'll be watching preseason at this point because
yep.
the
Yeah,
baseball season is just so.
can't get over soon enough with baseball,
Yep.
which is disgusting. It is truly disgusting. Because even last year, through all the misery and the injuries, I was still like engaged and I still watched the playoffs. I still watched the World Series. It's going to be very hard
Yep. It is. It
just because
is.
knowing like they are going to be in this pit of just awful, horrendous garbage. And it's not even that awful and horrendous, but like it is because you know how good they could be.
Right.
And like they're just kind of stuck in this for the next 2 years at least, unless they do something major. And the only major thing they can do is trade everybody, which is still going to be disgusting.
Right. Because I don't
I
trust
don't
David
want
Stearns to make those deals. I don't. Sorry.
to. Well, at least I can be my own GM in fantasy football
That's
and
it.
not have to worry about guys
That's the
like Boy
key.
Genius
That's the key.
letting my guys go.
Yep.
Well, it's been another great episode of the Gotham Sports Machine. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you want to check us out. We are there. And we'll see you guys next week, as always.
Take care, pal.